Hello and welcome to the Cardiac Cats YouTube channel. I'm your host, Jacob Shorba, and we are here to recap what is ultimately one of the, look, there's been two games this year, but this will probably be the worst loss they suffer all year. I'll probably eat my words actually saying that, but just unbelievable how many blown opportunities, how many stupid things you got to do to lose a game. And Jacksonville made sure they did it. Congratulations to them. We're going to talk about that. We're going to go through this game. It's going to be a little different because, honestly, to really hit on the amount of mistakes that were made in this game, the amount of screw-ups it took to reach the threshold to lose this, we got to go play by play practically and just look through everything that happened. So it's a frustrating loss, right? 31-27. Jacksonville led the whole way, had so many points that they didn't get on the board that they should have. Plays they should have hit on. Receivers dropping passes. Lawrence randomly deciding he's going to throw the defense. Just a lot of crazy stuff. And people are going to look at this and honestly probably try to find one person to blame it on because that's easy. Right? It's easy if we can look at this game and say, for example, Brian Thomas, you sucked, it's your fault, and you're the entire problem. And then now I've only got one problem to worry about. Right? That's easy. This was not a one single player being the problem type of game. This was a disaster in a lot of different ways. This was people blowing it at critical moments. I think it mostly would probably go... oh gosh, I don't even want to say I'm going to mostly blame this on anyone, but it's a lot of different people. Let's just keep it there. Now, the way this game started, I'll have to get up to the top of this. So we had a really good start here. Jacksonville looking great. Fantastic play calling. The scripted part of this game, like last week, went really well for the team. I mean, you go up 7-0. You've got a phenomenal drive. You're just humming, going down the field. And then you stop the Bengals immediately on the first drive. You sack them, you're forcing incompletions, and dang near ended up having a defensive touchdown, which unfortunately was not a defensive touchdown. I think it was debatable. I felt like it was either a fumble or it was a backwards pass. Apparently not. I guess I'm not a rules analyst, but that was really unfortunate because technically you're that far away from winning this game. That would have won you this game for sure. But Jacksonville doesn't get that. They get the ball. You see how this drive ends. Moving down the field, right? Great plays. You've got the run game just humming. Like, this was a team that, man, watching the beginning of this game, everything I've asked for in the last couple of years. Having an actual dominant run game. Being able to run the ball down your opponent's throat and being physical. This team was doing it. You get down towards the red zone. You're trying to score. They get stopped pretty much as soon as they get first and goal because you have the incompletion, which should have been ran at least to the 1 yard line on one of these plays. It might have been, I think it was first and goal, but there was one of these drives where Lawrence ended up throwing it. It wasn't caught, and he should have just ran it because the defenders wouldn't have been able to respond quick enough. And even if they did, he's at the 1 yard line, and it's like second and goal still, so you would have scored off that. But what ends up happening, we go to third and goal. Trevor Lawrence rushed on the play because Walker Little completely blows his block against, I think, Trey Hendrickson, which happened at the end of the game too. And what does Lawrence do? You don't take the sack. You don't throw it away. You throw a pick. You throw it in a bad spot, and you get 0 points on that drive. And what does Cincinnati do? Straight down the field for a touchdown. Burrow's still fine at this point, still in the game. Jacksonville ends up responding. Excuse my coughing. It's been kind of a bad week for that, but you probably won't hear too much of it here. Jacksonville had a great drive after that, right? Going back down the field, they stopped the Bengals. I think this was where the injury did end up happening to Burrow. Yes, so in the second quarter, pretty early on, and then Jacksonville, now in a situation, once again like 2 years ago, playing Jake Brown. You're up in the game. You're controlling the game. You're the better team. You have way more yards on offense, right? These teams were not in the same league at this point in the game. and we throw a pick. And now this one, to be clear, not 100% on Trevor Lawrence, right? And first one, we're putting blame on Walker Little as well. The throw could have been better, but Brian Thomas barely even tried to go for this pass. Goes by him, goes to a defender, and there you go. And then in the middle of this, you see 2 illegal shifts, all declined, which I don't know what was up with that. Jacksonville just really struggled with it. So you've got a lot of points that you're just not scoring. And then you get towards the end of the half. Got a nice pick on Jake Browning. He did not have a perfect game here, but he did just enough like he usually does when we play him, which he always does when we play him. And then you come out of the half and the game's tied. Game's tied immediately, right? You've got plays that are frustrating. I don't remember the specific drives for all of them, but I know Tyson Campbell, quite a few plays on the wrong end of it. Travis Hunter as well, when he was in the game, later on, we'll see, had a huge defensive pass interference. Now, I have not rewatched the play. I thought it was close. I didn't think it was clear and obvious, but I don't want to give an official opinion on that yet because I think I'd want to go back and watch the film. But it was a very, very convenient DPI, given that the Bengals were turning it over on 4th down otherwise. So, Jacksonville at this point, you go up a touchdown, Cincinnati scores. Go up a field goal, we finally stop, right? We get the ball back, we punt it, they throw a pick, and you look like you're going to win this game. You're in great field position here after the interception by Devin Lloyd. Shout out to him, who people think he sucks. Don't understand it at all, but whatever. Jacksonville sitting here on 3rd and 14, gets 9 yards. 4th and 5, right? Didn't expect them to go for it. And this is kind of a wild call. And well, I'm not blaming everything on one specific person for all this game. I think you can spread around the blame a decent amount. I'm definitely not blaming it on the play calling. I don't think there was anything wrong with the play calling. I think it was set up very well. It felt like the offense was moving the ball. It felt like the team had answers. And it felt like the players had the opportunity to make plays. And so this 4th and 5, this should have been a first down. This should have put the game in the bag. It should have been caught around the 2. He would have fallen forward for a first down. You should have scored. 1st and goal at the 1 or 2 yard line. This game should be over. And what happens with Brian Thomas? Drops the ball. Doesn't catch it. And then you have this stupid 15-play, 92-yard drive where every single moment that the Jaguars can end the game, they don't do it. Because unfortunately, what we thought this team learned how to win in 2022, it's not the case. They forgot immediately. Right now, I feel like this is going to sound a little harsh, taken in the context needs to be, but this team has a losing mentality until it doesn't. That can change. That is not who they have to be. But right now, this is a team that loses these games. And what do? 4th and 3 at the Cincinnati 15, this would have been? And they let them get the first down. Ballsy play call by Cincinnati. They end up getting it. You go back to 4th and 5 here. Penalty on Travis Hunter. Once again, I got to rewatch the play to give an honest opinion if it was a good penalty or not. I just don't know. But that's not good. And then you just let them run down the clock. You let them get down the field. They have the perfect drive. You can't stop them. You don't step up. Given it's harder at this point, I get that. And you end up letting them score a touchdown with 18 seconds left. Final drive. What happens the first play? Trey Hendrickson walks by Walker Little, and it's a sack. And that's the game. And by the way, Walker Little's here to stay through this year and probably through next year as well. Can't make a change on that because last year, and this isn't trashing the front office now, right? But there was a reason why we wanted Trent Baalke gone and why we wanted Doug Peterson gone earlier in that year. There's a reason why you don't wait until the end of the season. Because Trent Baalke, trying to save his reputation, gave an extension to his own guy, the guy he drafted, that maybe wasn't the best solution. I'm not saying Walker Little sucks, but I want a great offensive line. And I don't think this was necessarily earned at that point for Walker Little. And so you don't have a choice on that. He's here for a while. There's a lot of players you could say that about, that he gave out these massive contracts to that we can't get rid of this year. Can't make any changes on them. A lot of them are backups. But that's the way it is. So there's your play-by-play on how this happens. It is a game where the Jaguars did just enough to lose. It was like there was a threshold that they were trying to meet, and they did everything they could to reach that threshold, and they accomplished it. Good for them. Congratulations, you lost the game. The frustrating part of this, which we don't know how the games will go on Monday, but if you had won this game, Houston plays Tampa Bay tomorrow. Tampa Bay could win that. Tampa Bay could lose that. Go either way. You could have been going into week 3 in the first year of the Liam Cohen regime, 2-0 against what could have been an 0-2 Texans team, with the opportunity to bury them very early in the year. And no, wouldn't have been over. Wouldn't have been the end of it. But you could have put them in a huge deficit. It doesn't mean that's over, right? You still play them next week. You can win that game. You could also lose it. You could do the same shit you did this week. Excuse my language. But they didn't win this game, and they gave up a really big opportunity. And these are games they had to win. Cincinnati screwed around too. Both these teams screwed around. Jacksonville just did enough to make sure that they were going to lose the game. Overall, stats-wise, Lawrence ends up being 25 of 43, tons of pass attempts today, 294 yards, 3 touchdowns. Nice. Don't see that much from him. Usually not a guy who throws a lot of touchdowns, but 2 picks in the game. Excuse my coughing. Let's see if we can pull up. Yes, we can. So turnover-worthy plays, they only gave him 2. Honestly, there was like dang near 4 in the first half of this game. There was the one that was dropped. There were the 2 interceptions that actually happened. And then I think there was another one that almost happens at the end of the first half where they threw it up to BTJ, who was like really closely covered, and it almost ricocheted straight to a defender. But this probably counted a little bit different. And that's the official number is 2. But that's what you had from Trevor Lawrence today. Just look, good plays and bad plays, but you gotta be better, man. We don't want to sit here and have to constantly be defending you and wondering what you are and having no clue what you are. It's frustrating. I think we're tired of arguing over as fans, and unfortunately, it just kind of continues. See if we can get a better look at stats here. So as far as the rush attack, Bashal Tootin got pretty involved today. He had a really good game, very effective when he was on the field. This was a really good backfield. It's a really good combination of players. I'm very happy with it. Sorry. As far as the receiving game, shockingly, Parker Washington led things today, but that's what happens when there's practically no plan to get Travis Hunter involved. That's what happens when the time you actually start looking towards Brian Thomas, he's not playing well. He's struggling. This is the most disgusting thing to look at. This was 12 targets today for 4 receptions. 12 targets for 4 receptions. It's not good. Aside from that, I mean, it's spread out pretty well. It's been like that. The defense, you had a really good game again from Foye Oluokun, Trayvon Walker as well. Eric Armstead got a sack. And then you had some picks, which not sure where they're showing that on here. Okay. Yeah, you had one from Wingard, Lloyd, and Murray. So really good game for the Jaguars defense as far as forcing turnovers, making big plays. Unfortunately, just not enough at the end to win the game. But that's kind of how this thing goes. You know, special teams, nothing to really talk about there. It's a loss for the Jaguars. It's very unfortunate, but honestly kind of felt like this was how the game was going to go. If I had to predict anything, this would have been pretty close to it. Maybe just not the same amount of chaos. as what we saw. Here's your PFF grades. Just for now, these will be updated in the next day. They'll finalize them. We can at least get a look on here. Used to seeing Devin Lloyd that high, is pretty much that high every week. Really good game for the edge rushers, I want to note. Lots of pressure from them. Kind of went away later in the game. But the pass rush has actually looked pretty good this year, at least early on. So that's kind of all I got here. Not a whole lot else to say. It's a very frustrating loss. I'm sure there will be some arguing over it online like there always is. But keep in mind, this is the first year. They got things they got to work out. I think you've got a really good play caller. I think you've got good coordinators. It is going to be an issue of changing the culture. And as much as I don't want to say, I'm not saying I'm out on Trevor. I'm going to make that very clear. But we have to be honest with ourselves about what Trevor Lawrence is. And that's not something I don't think you can judge immediately in a new scheme. It's going to take time this year. But we can't gaslight ourselves. We can't lie to ourselves. What is he going to be? Let's figure out the answer. And you got to figure out what to do from there. Which, to be fair, can't really make a change there for a while if he was not the answer for this franchise. So you got to hope to God things get better and that he can play better. And for the other players on this team as well. We focus on quarterback mainly because quarterback is the most important position. He is not the only player at fault today. BTJ's got to step it up. Hunter's got to be more involved. For the second overall pick, giving up what you did for him, he's got to be a bigger part of the game plan. I think that's more of a coaching issue, I would say. And then aside from that, Tyson Campbell, kind of frustrating him right now, and Walker Little, he just got to do better. You cannot get blown up on the biggest plays of the game throughout the game. Can't happen. So with that said, I appreciate y'all watching. I want to give a shout out to our channel members, Gator John Bites, Ichi Wiener, the FTX Smoke Eater, Mr. Dolphin, Brian Foster, and Frangies. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. Feel free to rant as much as you want in the comments. I will listen to it, and I'm sorry you had to watch that abomination that game was at the end of the day. But that's all I've got. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and finally, go Jags.